Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Now the first car he had, he got from his dad. It was a '62 Dodge that had a throne rod, but he could pretend that it ran again, and he'd drive all around 14 miles into town. He had a Galaxy, 2 hubcaps and 3 on the tree, but in his mind it was fast. He'd mash down on the gas, and he'd pop out the clutch so that the tires would spark, and he'd drive all around 14 miles into town. Now the other kid's gone, he's left all alone. He's both old and young. He feels misunderstood, like he did when he was 15 years old. All he wanted in the world was a set of mag wheels. Mag wheels. Well, he and Beth bought a van, and they put a bed in the back, and they camp out in the pines and listen to the loons in the night, and they painted a mural on the side, but it never looked right. Still they drive all around 14 miles into town. He found someone afternoon at a garage sale in June. They were aluminum slots, but the lugs wouldn't match up, so he had to leave them behind, and it always bothered his mind. He drove his little car to the job, and he parked it in the lot, and he never gave it much thought. I guess it didn't mean very much. From point A to point B, that was all that he needed. He never drove around, just that 14 miles into town. Now the other kids are gone, he's left all alone. He's both old and young. He feels misunderstood, like he did when he was 15 years old. All he wanted in the world was a set of mag wheels. Mag wheels. out there with a big tall mast bobbing around in the air. It says, I could sail one of those. You don't even need a key. I said, Ed, it ain't that easy. Oh, I don't believe it's that easy, Ed. Drifting away from the shore. But Ed said I had no experience in the matter. He proceeded to untie a boat, and then he just jumped right inside. Oh, I followed him in. I think it was a bad idea, 'cause now we are drifting away from the dock. We're drifting away from the shore, Ed. We are drifting away from the shore. Pulls on the tiller, you know. He cranks around some levers, he tells me to row. I said, Ed, there ain't any paddle. There's someone on the dock that's yelling at us, and he sounds pretty mad, and I begin to regret taking a walk with him. Oh, I wish I'd stayed at home, Ed, instead of drifting away from the shore. Just beat it then. He jumped right over the side, you know, he started swimming like a fool for the shoreline. Oh, but I can't swim. I never even learned how. Now I'm just sitting here in this stolen boat, wondering what it's gonna feel like to get shot. Oh, I bet that's gonna hurt, Ed. Drifting away from the shore. Yelling at me through bullhorns. You know what? I didn't even know that the police had a boat. On the way back down to the dock, I saw Ed climbing onto the rocks and hauling ass down the sidewalk. Don't ask me to go walking with you again, Ed. Drifting away from the shore.
Charlie Parr in the Roadhouse on KEXP on Stealing A Sailboat from his brand new self-titled record. This came out a few months ago, and the first song was Mag Wheels. Charlie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
Me. It's been a good while, but I appreciate you having me back.
What's Ed doing now?
I have no idea.
What happened to Ed?
Making some trouble somewhere else, I imagine.
Who is that crazy man?
I have no idea. I made that up.
Your new album is out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're still in Duluth, Minnesota?
Yeah.
And the record is on Red House Records, and it's been a minute. You were on the show like a decade ago, I feel like. It's been like a while. Yeah,
I can't remember exactly when, but it's been a while.
Yeah, you're still doing your thing. I think preeminent player, I think, in folk and blues and the contemporary scene. I love having you back.
Thank you.
Hey, The Current, your local radio station, just announced that you were the #1 local artist of 2019. Something about chart positions. You had the most highest charting of any local artist in Minnesota.
Well, I'm sure there's some conditions that apply.
Well, very much the local artist of the year. Congratulations.
Well, they've been really good to me, and I've been very, very lucky. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're traveling up the West Coast right now. You were in Seattle last night and heading to Montana, and then you'll be back home for your residency.
Yeah.
Every January you play the Turf Club.
Yeah, it's been years now. I think it's good. I love the Turf Club, and we have a nice time. I get to just kind of relax, and residencies are the best. They're really fun.
Yeah, I think for the audience too.
Yeah,
they kind of get the best of you and kind of feel what you're feeling that particular week or day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, so you had a rough year. And I hadn't seen you for so long, but I read recently that a year ago in August, you had a very bad accident riding a skateboard and hurt your right shoulder.
I fell off.
Tell us the story.
It wasn't. Well, yeah, it was bad, but I mean, I don't know. Looking back on it, it doesn't feel so bad.
I think it was pretty bad.
It was. Yeah, it was bad
your career was in jeopardy.
I had such a nice day though. My daughter. Well, I mean, the short version of the long story is my daughter a few years back wanted to learn how to skateboard, and when I was a kid, and this is 1976 when I was 9. I rode my bike and I rode my skateboard, and we didn't do tricks or anything. We just kind of rode around. It was, we were practical.
It wasn't extreme.
It was not extreme. There was nothing extreme about it. And I fell down all the time. I mean, I'm clumsy ever since I was born. But anyway, my daughter wanted to learn how to skateboard. I said, I took her to the board shop and got her outfitted and everything, and said, I can teach you how to stand on the thing and go and stop and turn. But that's as far as my limited amount. And it was fun for me because I got to, ride a skateboard again a little bit, wobble around on it, And so we had a great summer doing that. And then the next summer and the summer that this happened, we hadn't gotten to spend as much time together. I was on the road quite a bit. And, I don't know, I missed her. She's great. Both my kids are just amazing, and I love spending any minute I can with them because I'm on the road enough that when I'm home, I try to be as present as I possibly can, So we had a day where we just I was heading out for a tour again soon, and we went out and rode our bikes all day, and we came back, we had dinner, and she said, oh, let's go ride skateboards for a little while. And it was a little dark, and it's probably a bad idea, but I don't know. And your daughter comes bursting into your room and wants you to go skateboarding. I'm like, yeah, I would love to do that. That'd be amazing. So we went and we did it. About an hour later, I'm in an ambulance. And it was easy. It was coming down a hill on the lake walk, and must have hit maybe a little pebble. I don't even know. I flew. All I remember was the sensation of being airborne for a couple of brief seconds before I came down right on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And just split it.
It was bad enough to where you couldn't use it, and that happens to be your guitar arm.
Yeah.
And so there was questions whether you could play the guitar again.
It was really bad. I mean, they couldn't set it. They couldn't do anything with it. It was swollen up gigantic. And, I had a great surgeon. He was, trying to be realistic about the whole thing. And, this movement, was in question, whether or not I'd have the ability to have the actual bones left in there, have to replace bones inside me and stuff. It turned out, I was on the operating table for quite a few hours, and I've got metal and pins and holding it together, and I think the act of after a while I could pull my guitar into my lap and play it on my lap, flat on my lap, and I think the action of moving my fingers like that might have actually helped pump the blood up and down my arm and maybe speed the healing process, or maybe that's just something I made up, but I got really lucky,
And then in the process of all that, you did some life reassessments, and I can imagine you really realized how much music was important to you and how playing is a big part of what you do every day.
Well, it was the day after I did it. I thought, when was the last day that I did not play the guitar? Knowing that day, the day after that happened, was going to be a day where I would not be able to play the guitar. And I couldn't remember that day when I hadn't at least picked it up, and messed around a little bit on it. I couldn't remember a day like that, because I was obsessed from the time I was 8 years old with, the guitar and having one around and playing one every day. So it shook me a lot, understanding that this was something that I personally just made a self-identifier as I'm a person that plays the guitar every day, and then suddenly there was weeks that went by without being able to even touch it,
Right. And then I read that you, in the process, started revisiting some of your old
I listened to
songs.
Music. I listened to music all day. It was actually really good. I just sat, with my arm covered with ice packs and whatever, and just listened to everything. I listened to music that I hadn't really listened to since I was younger. All the the records that my dad had around, all the music that I grew up with, and all the punk rock that I got into when I was a teenager. Some of it aged really well. I kind of reacquainted myself with like the Minutemen, who I think aged well over the years, and the music is still really relevant in my mind, and Husker Du and all that kind of stuff. And it was great, just all day listening to music and looking out the window.
And this new record is, I guess, the result of that process of revisiting not only your own music but others' music. There's a song by Spider John Corner, who's I know is your hero, and also Grant Hart from Husker Du. You did a song that he wrote. Absolutely,
yeah. And listening to the stuff, the Husker Du stuff, and Grant's solo work, it just reminded me of when I remember that year that Husker Du broke up, and Grant's the EP, the 2541 EP came out, and I listened to it a lot. I wore it out. It was an amazing, just a few songs. It was the soundtrack for a whole year for me, and somehow that kind of got shuffled to the back of my memory until this happened, and I'm like, wow, what an amazing song, And this whole record, we already had the date set and everything. I was going to make a different record before this happened. I was going to make a new record of new songs in a fancy studio, and it was going to be something different than it turned out to be. After this happened, and I had to kind of sit back a minute, stop working on the new songs, and so this record is a direct result of all the sitting around I did.
And one of my favorite songs on the new record is called Cheap Wine, and you're going to do that one right now. And can you introduce this song? I know that it's based on a sort of some short story you wrote in the past, and it really became more of a song than the short story. Is that right?
Yeah, there was a few songs that got mined out of that terrible little book that I tried to write, and Cheap Wine, and it's all kind of centers around a liquor store where the owner murders a homeless person in the alley and then tries to blame somebody else for it. That's basically what Cheap Wine is about. And it's kind of like there's 3 other songs that kind of are about that same event from different vantage points. So it was a terrible thing to have to read, but mining the book for songs turned out to be a better idea.
Do you want to play it now?
I can, absolutely.
This is Charlie Parr. He's in the Roadhouse on KEXP.
Cheap wine. There ain't no better, Lord, no better than these bums coming in here to buy the cheap wine. I'm leaning against the counter on a gloomy day. Snowfall clear the sidewalks in the entryway for all the old folks, the bums and the hustlers and the rude kids. I can't stand the sight of any of them. I wish I could sell this place. I wish I could buy a boat and sail away. These old ladies coming in here to buy the cheap wine. They ain't no better than these bums coming in here to buy the cheap wine. I know got it so bad I can go home at night. Sometimes I'll quit drinking when I wanna. There ain't nobody here to bother me. There ain't no one here to bother me. Keep the store open past curfew some nights so I don't have to go home. You see all these old ladies coming in here to buy the cheap wine. They ain't no better, Lord, they ain't no better than these bums coming in here to buy the cheap wine. I never meant to do anything wrong or do any harm, but I framed that kid and he wasn't so bright. He wasn't so bright. He was just drunk all the time. Anyway, they killed him, not me. I've got a business here to run. I've got property. He had nothing. You see all these old ladies coming in here to buy the cheap wine. They ain't no better, they ain't no better than these bums coming in here to buy the same. I'm better than all this. And that crazy derelict, you can go to hell, I'm better than this. I make my own way. Sometimes I'll open the store an hour before daybreak, put all the labels facing out. I'm so tired of these labels. Why don't they say it? It's cheap wine. You see all these old ladies coming in here to buy the cheap wine. They ain't no better, they ain't no better than these poor bums coming in here to buy the cheap wine. I'm leaning against the counter on a gloomy day. Snowfall through the sidewalks and the entryway.
Charlie Parr in the Roadhouse on KEXP. Cheap Wine was that song from his new self-titled album that came out a few months ago on Red House Records. Charlie, great to have you here.
Thank you.
You've never been shy to comment and sing about the complicated nature of homelessness.
No. I worked for a good while, as an outreach worker with a crew that did outreach to people who were homeless, who couldn't access shelter at all for various reasons, shelters being full or any other reason you can think of. We drove a van around Minneapolis at that time, and Duluth later when I moved up there. It just specifically looking for folks and trying to figure out, what to do, even if it was just to give someone a blanket for the night, or maybe a hot cup of coffee or a sandwich or something, resources.
Yeah. What do you think the number one thing that people misunderstand about homeless people?
There's a lot of things. I think, it's a really complicated question. I think. I mean, having the empathy to understand that, there's no there's no fundamental difference between someone who happens to be homeless and someone who happens to have a house. It's not a category of a kind of person. I think people forget sometimes. It's not, that's mythology to say that there's something fundamentally different about someone who doesn't happen to have a place to sleep that night except for outside. It might be better for people if and something that I had to understand when I started working in that line of work, just that there's no fundamental difference between any of us. That some little thing that may or may not even be something you did, pushes you off into this new world of not having any resources.
Yeah, like a shoulder injury, for example.
Like a shoulder injury, or just some unexpected bill, a medical or whatever. Suddenly you're just kind of drowning. I think a lot of us are really close to that, and maybe it's hard to take a step and think about how close you are, because it's frightening. It's a lot easier, I think, to make someone into a foreign kind of other person, so that you don't feel so vulnerable yourself, because we're all pretty close. Closer than we think, maybe. I don't know. I'm speaking for myself. Yeah. Obviously, I think, and I thought about that after I broke my shoulder. My grasp on economic security is tenuous at best. It's not even that. It's really, really thin. And recovering from my injury and trying to get myself together to get these bills paid and stuff is an ongoing process. So I don't know. I mean, when I was working, I was low in the hierarchy of people who work in that field. I don't have an education, and I was just doing that job of handing someone a cup of coffee and talking to them and finding out if I could help them in some other way, or refer them to someone who did know something. So I don't feel very qualified to really comment on the larger kind of issue, but that's all I know about it.
Yeah. You grew up in Austin, Minnesota, mm-hmm. and you worked at the Hormel plant, which is a sausage making, or your dad did?
My mom and dad and my sister worked at Hormel's. I got out without having to work at the plant.
And now you're a vegetarian.
I am. Yeah.
Is there a connection between those two things?
Not at all. No, there's not. I mean, and my growing up, we didn't eat a ton of products from the plant, but I don't really remember it being a thing at all, really talking about it or much. I mean, my eating habits now are vegetarian and that just mostly because of my own health, mm-hmm. and those are the decisions I've made. It's not really much to do with Hormels.
This is Charlie Parr. He's in the Red House. He's heading to Montana this week, and then he'll be back home soon in Minnesota. The new album is self-titled. You've been hearing songs from that. We also want to do this one from a previous record, the Stump Jumper record from a few years ago. You want to do this one called Over the Red Cedar?
Sure thing.
This is Charlie Parr. This is KEXP.
Their big house, bigger than they really needed. Oh, he got the dualies on his pickup. When the dealer gave him a choice, but now he's lost his job on the build site, and he's struggling to feed his boys. And the Red Cedar goes, Red outlasting you, outlasting you, Lord, Lord, outlasting you. Well, his wife was his high school girl, and they never left this town. It booms and busts, and it heaves and rusts, but they can't bear to go. Now they couldn't go if they wanted to. There ain't no work anywhere anymore. And the Red Cedar flows, Red Cedar flows, long after you're gone. It's outlasting you, outlasting you, Lord, Lord, outlasting you. And she's been serving food down at Bud's. Lord, he can't stand to see her down there, where all the desperate men sit and drink, stare a little too long at her legs. Well, he sits home with the kids at night, hiding the worry on his face. And the Red Cedar flows, long after you're gone. It's outlasting you, outlasting you, Lord, Lord, outlasting you. You know exactly what's lurking out there. You can see it on the news every night. In the village that it takes to raise our kids is afraid to come outside. And the Red Cedar grows, Red Cedar flows, long after you're gone. It's outlasting you, outlasting you, Lord, outlasting you. Tuesday afternoons are the hardest, when time seems to stand still. Oh, they've piled up quite a few of them now, 20 years worth of not quite 3 o'clock. And time moves as fast as it ever did, and there ain't nothing you can do to slow it down. And the Red Cedar flows, Red Cedar flows, long after you're gone. It's outlasting you, it's outlasting you, Lord, Lord, it's outlasting you.
Charlie Parr over the Red Cedar from the album Stump Jumper. Well, Charlie, you can still play.
Thank you, Greg.
That's good news. One of the best finger pickers out there. Great to see you again, Charlie.
It's really good to see you, too.
See you out there and again. We used to see each other all the time, and I'm not sure what's happening between us, but we'll have to make it.
We'll have to make it up.
Yeah,
it's
thanks for coming in.
Again.
Yeah,
thanks, Greg.
This is KEXP FM Seattle.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?